Today's Warhammer 40K topic is plague zombies, but specifically the Inquisitors charged with protecting the Imperium of not just the poor souls infected by Nurgle's plagues, but the contagions that infect all of humanity. This minor ordo is called the Ordo Sepultorum.
The Ordo Sepultorum, also referred to as the Ordo Sepultura, is one of the smallest and most specialized organizations, known as an Ordo Minoris within the Inquisition. The Ordo Sepultorum operates around the Eye of Terror and the Great Rift, and is dedicated to investigating the specific threat known as the zombie plague. Although occurrences of plague zombies have been recorded across the Imperium for many millennia, it is in the wake of the plague fleets of Chaos Champion Typhus, the Herald of Nurgle, that they have grown in number to the point where they present a threat to the Imperium in their own right. Before Abaddon's 13th Black Crusade, the incidence of zombie plague around the Cadian system dramatically increased. This was noticed by several agents of the Inquisition, who were soon in communication with one another, and within a few standard years, several more Thorian Inquisitors, most notably Inquisitor Agistri, were investigating the zombie plague, and the Ordo Sepultorum was formed. As a combination of both a warp-based chaos infection, as well as an actual physical malleus, the zombie plague has always been on the agenda for Thorians to study, seeing as Thorian Inquisitors believed that the Emperor's battle with Horus allowed him to break the final bonds between crude matter and ascend to his true natural form as a deity that exists within the warp. As such, Thorian Inquisitors do not fear warp powers, but instead understand that any psychic or warp anomaly should be harnessed and used to better the Imperium of man. Unfortunately, the zombie plague was unpredictable, and its sporadic occurrences meant that it took luck or tremendous amounts of patience to capture a plague zombie for investigation. But with the advent of the Eye of Terror-related epidemics in the wake of the 13th Black Crusade, the formation of the Great Rift, and the Plague Wars, Inquisitors that have previously been thwarted in their mission to achieve specimens were suddenly confronted with a plethora of test subjects. The Inquisition was able to determine that the plague was a necrotic microorganism that physically degenerated those it infected, causing their skin and internal organs to rapidly rot until the moment of their death, at which time the chaos energy within the virus reanimated the victim's corpse as a zombie, whose only remaining drive was to feed on living flesh and so spread the infection. Once the infection had occurred, the zombie plague proceeded through 4 basic symptomatic stages. The first symptoms of the infections were hard to discern. The skin became pallid and sickly looking. The infected was overwhelmed by nausea and saw spots in front of their eyes. Green-colored scabs may have started to appear on the body. From that point forward, the victim was highly infectious, and the pathogen could be spread by exposure to any infected individual's bodily fluid, such as blood or saliva. In the second stage, the victim's skin began to tighten and harden, causing the veins to stand out. The scalp began to shed hair as the follicles died, and the scabbing spread more noticeably across the skin as the cellular necrosis accelerated. At this stage of the infection, the victim was beyond hope of cure, and became dangerous to others as his or her sanity began to be overwhelmed by uncontrollable, abnormal cravings for healthy flesh. By the time the plague had progressed to its third stage, its effects were no longer capable of being overlooked. The divine perfection of the human face was marred by sunken cheeks, thin lips, necrotic white skin, rotting teeth, and large areas of epidermis that had decayed into vast swaths of seeping pus bubbles. The cellular necrosis reached the point that the large portion of the body was now effectively considered dead tissue. The final stage of the plague was truly horrible. Now essentially a mindless walking corpse, the victim's advanced necrosis caused extremities to simply fall off. Rotting veins bubbled under parchment-thin dead skin, and final death through a shot to the head or dismemberment was the only release from the torment. Victims of this disease in this stage, colloquially known as zombies, often congregated in large numbers as they would seek out the life forms that are not infected with disease so that they can consume their healthy flesh. Thorian Inquisitors have noted similarities between the zombie plague's ability to use the powers of the warp to reanimate a victim's corpse, and the operation of the Golden Throne, which uses the powers of the warp to keep the Emperor of Mankind's body from completely dying. Thorian Inquisitors believe that the plague is an example of an offshoot of the technology used to create the Golden Throne, and it is the Adeptus Mechanicus 10 millennia ago that created or at least modified the Golden Throne. Unfortunately, now those individuals are known as Dark Mechanicus Tech Priests, and they reside within the Eye of Terror. Increased studies of the plague by Thorian Inquisitors has led them to believe that it is through this study of the undead that they will understand the Emperor of mankind's current state and how he might yet be reborn. However, every attempt at creating a stable faith virus that would allow the servants of the Imperium to live on as good undead, like the Emperor, or even allow the Emperor to be reborn in an undead form, has led to mutation in the samples. The zombie victims of the plagues are noted to have a psychic connection created by the chaos energy that exists within the virus, and it has also been noted that psychers have the capacity to manipulate the decaying creatures that are spawned. Scarier still is what the Ordo Suppleturum has discovered on countless battlefields. Deadlier than the zombies created by Typhus's zombie plague are the poxwalkers. These shambling zombies are the cursed victims of Nurgle's walking pox plague, transformed into the unliving weapons of the Death Guard. Victims of the walking pox find their bodies rotting and shutting down until death eventually takes them. Yet this is not the end. The sufferer remains crudely conscious and aware, unlike a zombie, trapped within the corpse as it is reanimated with a rictus grin, staggering off in search of the living. Their flesh mutates even after death, sprouting bloated, pulsating tentacles and horn-like growths from their skulls, similar to those of Nurgle's demonic plague bearers. Simply hearing the mindless, groaning cacophony of the poxwalkers is enough to infect the souls of all but the most faithful Imperial citizens, leading to mass outbreaks even within fortress and hive cities that appear impregnable. Countless souls have been lost in such a way to this illness, everyone becoming another heretical abomination intent on murder. By the time the Death Guard move to attack a world so afflicted, they have an army of the undead waiting to aid them. Much more rare is the Obliterator Tech Virus, which the Ordo Suppleturum have categorized as a chaos-born contagion that combines elements of physical corruption with mental disruption. Allowing the psychic manipulation of technology, the Obliterator Virus makes it possible for humans to interact and meld with machinery, not only on the physical plane, but also the psychic and spiritual level, making it another area of intense interest to the Inquisitors of the Thorian faction. As the Plague Wars progress, the Ordo Suppleturum has slowly increased its scope, to the point where many within the Ordo are well versed with the various plagues of Nurgle, such as the Weeping, Mutterflux, the Slithering Scourge, and many others. Their curiosity has placed many Inquisitors in direct danger with foes the like have never been seen before, like the Vile Savants and the Slot Rays. As the threat of zombies continues, the Ordo Suppleturum will continue to fight against the enemies of mankind.
And that's the lore to the Ordo Suppleturum. I want to do more videos on the Inquisition, so if you have any suggestions for specific Ordos, let me know what they are in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel for more Warhammer 40K lore, and we'll talk tomorrow. This was Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate, signing out.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.